All right, so one of the things that I kind of can't stress enough is the importance of simplicity and simplifying what you see. Um, it's something kind of like almost like a way of looking at things. When you look at this hilt, you might be at first intimidated. This is not a super complicated object by any means, and it actually perfectly illustrates what I'm trying to show. So, but this is true in anything that you're going to model. So I highly recommend kind of thinking on this for a little while. So when you look at this, try not to look at what's difficult, but look at what's easy. Okay, so in the beginning, you might see that there's a sphere here. Well, spheres are very easy to build in 3D, right? We have a sphere tool. But also, you might see that there's this ring, right? And, well, that's a cylinder, right? So we can work off of a cylinder from there. And that's actually how we're going to do this one, is we're going to just see that simple cylinder, and we're going to make all of this come right out of a simple cylinder, okay? And it's not hard. So that's the trick, is find that base primitive that fits for your object, or maybe 2 primitives, or maybe 5 primitives. But you're gonna look for those base primitives, and then work from those primitives to create your really cool shape. Like, I mean, we did it originally in this one, right, where we pulled up the rectangle and we kind of made our object. And it was easy, right? Super simple. And the same thing is true here. Even though this looks more complicated, you'll see it's a little more complicated. You have to do a little more to make it happen. But it's nothing that is going to be mind-blowing at this point. This is not going to be a crazy radical thing. So a car is the same thing. What is its really base? It's a couple rectangles, and then from there you can refine it to get what you're looking for, okay? So the same thing is true here, and that's what we're going to do. All right, so let's begin with our cylinder, okay? And I'm just going to drag out a nice cylinder and drag it up, and that's going to be it. Okay, we're going to rotate, and this is something that, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to sidetrack for a moment. Okay, so if you double-click your rotate tool, okay, you're going to get this option in here called Discrete Rotate, okay? And if you check it, right, you have this option here for step size. Now, you can set it to whatever you'd like. I'd recommend, until you kind of know what you're doing with it, I would set it to 15, because 15 is a nice number. It gets you to all your major spots. Like 10 degrees doesn't get you to 45. So using 10 degrees is not a good choice. 15 degrees does, so 15 degrees is a really nice option. I think 7.5 is also really good. But yeah, 15 degrees is good. So we're just going to stick to that and close it. And now, when you rotate, you'll see that it's snapping to those 15-degree points, okay? So if you look on the bottom left over here, it's actually giving you a readout. It doesn't show it right now, but when you're rotating it, you're going to see on the bottom left over here that there is a little display showing you your angle. So as I'm doing that, I'm just going to go to 90 degrees, okay? You can do it by numeric input up on top here too if you'd like, okay? And I'm just going to go to my attribute editor. Yeah, my attribute editor. Sorry, my computer froze for a second. And I'm just going to set this to 0, 0, 0. And of course, like I was saying, you can always set it manually also. In fact, normally I do that, but I wanted to show you the discrete rotate. And I'm just going to kind of nudge this down into place. And I'm going to zoom in and kind of get in here. And I'm just going to move it down, okay? So one thing you might be noticing already is that our picture really isn't square and centered. So what we're going to do is we're going to fix that next. So let's grab our picture plane. Let's just zoom in a little bit, okay? And get this line and this centered by moving your picture plane. Great. Okay, so now that we have all that stuff fixed and we're kind of looking good here, what we want to do is affect this cylinder, so we can kind of adjust some things on it that'll help us out. So if you go into your channel layer box, right? So, and go on this poly cylinder, you will see that you have some options in here. And we can change things like how many subdivisions it has. As you can see, it's now 10. I want to leave it at 20 because I want to leave it at 20. We can go into our subdivisions heights. So we're actually going to do this one, and we're going to make this 2 subdivisions. Okay, so now what's actually happened is because this is automatically, like, every one is a subdivision, so it actually puts it right on the 0 axis for us. So, you know, if I go 3, it wouldn't be. Now it's splitting that, but 4 would be. You know, so you can we're going to just do 2, and it's going to split us right down the center again. So that's great. And our subdivision caps, we're just going to do 0 and hit return. And that's it for in there. And we're just going to go right click and go to object mode, and that's going to be that. Okay, so what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to mirror this guy like we did the sword blade, and we're going to want to do it pretty much the exact same way. So the first thing we're going to want to do is go to face mode and start a selection around this ring, right? So to do that, you're just going to select one and then double click the one next to it. And as you can see, it'll select all of the rings around it. So again, you're going to select, hold down shift and double click, and it'll get all of them. Okay, so you're just going to hit the delete key, select this back face, delete that one, rotate around to the front, select the front one. We're just going to move this one first in to kind of make it like a comfy thickness. So something like about like that. Remember, this is only half, so we don't want to go too thick because it's going to literally be double its thick once it's complete. So yeah, that feels good. We might even want to turn the sword on for a moment just to kind of make sure it's covering the sword and making sure that it's not going to be a problem. So let's just do that for a second. And okay, that's good. Turn off the sword blade, and we should be in pretty good shape. So let's just delete that face now. And this is going to introduce a new sort of concept to you that we're going to have to go over. So right now we have what is called backface culling turned off. Okay, so this is not how most game engines will render, and it's also not a very good way to work in general because you may or may not know if the faces are reversed. So in 3D, faces always have what's called a normal, and it is perpendicular to the face of the object. So the back sides technically don't get rendered. Maya LT is awesome, and it has the option of being either a backface culling tool or a non-backface culling tool, and we have that option to turn it on and off. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So under shading, we're going to turn on backface culling, okay? And now it is culling the back faces. In other words, we can't see the back sides of objects because that's really how most 3D engines are going to see things, okay? Especially when you're doing real-time stuff. So these faces are now all only facing one direction and therefore are more optimized. So what does that matter to us? So right now all of our faces are facing outward from the center, which we don't really want. What we want is to have them all facing inwards so that when we pull this whole thing out, it's going to look beautiful and nice, and it's going to work just like it should. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to double click a face. Doesn't matter which one, because so double clicking selects everything that is connected to it. So since everything is connected to it, it grabs everything. And now what we're going to do is we're going to tell the faces to look inward instead, or reverse the faces direction. So under normals, we can go reverse. And now all of our normals are facing inward. Okay, so that means that this is the rendered face and this is a non-rendered face. Okay, so but now we're set up to go ahead and model out this whole sword hilt, and it's gonna work nicely to our benefit. So let's begin doing the hilt itself. So right click, go to edge mode, and we're just going to double click, and we're going to go extrude, and we're going to go scale, and we're just going to scale it out a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to go to the yeah, no, this is a good enough view. This is fine. So I just pulled it out a little bit, and as you can see, I'm just kind of lining it. Yeah, I'm just going to go to front view for a moment, just to kind of see what we're looking at. I am apparently working from the wrong side of the object. That's a bummer. Let's fix that. So basically what happened is I didn't realize it. I pulled it out on the non-front. I pulled it out from the back. So let's just fix that. And I'm just going to right click, say object mode, select the object, and because the center point is on center, I'm just going to rotate it 180 degrees, and now it's on the side that I want. So when I go to my front view, it's on the side that I'd like to see it from. Okay, so good. I see that I'm nicely outlining my shape here. Over here it's a little different, but I'm not going to worry about that too very much, because we're just using this as reference. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfectly exact, and since it's low res, it's kind of deforming anyway, and there's shadows and such, so we know that we want a perfect cylinder, and that's where we're going to start. So let's keep going, and I'm just going to come back to my perspective view, and I'm going to go back into edge mode and continue modeling. So extrude and pull it back. Okay, so on the z-axis, let's go 0 and make sure that that's nicely squared to the surface plane. Okay, so that's going to do it for the basic cylinder. Now what we have to do is pull out these wings. Okay, and again, we're going to mirror this whole thing. So though I wanted to use a cylinder to get my base shape, we're really only going to worry about the one side. So let's just begin by grabbing our faces, and we're going to grab this one. We're going to grab this one. This one, this one, this one, and that one we're going to leave. Should I leave it? Yeah, let's take it. Okay, and we're just going to hit the extrude button again, and we're going to go move. We're going to pull it out a little bit, and we're just going to scale it down. Now this one's important. Grab the blue handle and just kind of mimic what we're looking at here. And we're going to also scale it inward so that we kind of normalize everything. Okay, and we're just going to scale it and move it, and I may end up doing kind of like a little time-lapse thing on this, because otherwise you're going to be watching me move things for a while. But yeah, for now we're just going to stick with it, and I'm just going to scale it down and move it up. Okay, and as you can see, I'm just kind of just making this this shape. Okay, so the next part, I'm just going to grab those. Okay, as you can see, I'm not grabbing that last top one, because that's going to kind of have this sharper edge downward, and I don't want to have so many polygons in here as my base. So I'm going to just do that and extrude it again and move and scale and move. And don't worry, we're going to clean all this stuff up in a minute, and it's going to look beautiful. So just scale. Doesn't look like much yet, but we're getting there. I'm actually going to scale this up a touch more. I just want to kind of have the basic sizes for what I'm working at. And if you notice, like, so here's like a change, so that's where I'm going to put my next extrusion. So extrude again and move and out and scale. And the only reason I'm using the scale tool is because it's a little faster right now. And that's going to be our last major one. So we're just going to go extrude and move and just kind of finish it off right about there. Okay, so we'll nudge these into place now. So right click and go vertex, and I'm going to go to the front view so that it's a little easier to see what's going on. Okay, and I'm just gonna, because this is in wireframe, I usually leave my front view in wireframe so that I can kind of do this kind of thing a lot easier, and then I leave my perspective view in shaded mode, so that I have a way to switch, quickly toggle between a shaded view and a non-shaded view. And since most of the time when I'm in front view, I kind of want more individualized control like this, I leave this in wireframe. So now what I'm doing is I'm just simply going through my points and I'm kind of just nudging them into place until I get a kind of shape that mimics what my my blade, my hilt is looking like. So as you can see, I'm just kind of going through and adjusting and adjusting and adjusting. Good for what we need. So let's just take a look at it, see what we've got. And as you can see, we've now got kind of a good looking shape that's starting to form, and we're going to be in pretty good shape from here, I believe. Yeah, okay, so we're going to do a couple more extrusions. We're going to go right click, face, select all these faces. Okay, so if we look at it from the front view, we're now looking at those faces. Okay, and we're just going to hit space and come back in here. We're going to hit the extrude button and we're going to hit the move tool, and we're just going to move it back into the body a little bit, and that's going to be pretty good. Okay, so one thing that we're going to want to kind of keep in mind is that this is a perfect ring, and therefore it's going to deform nicely, and it's going to work beautifully always, and it'll always look like a perfect circle. So what we don't want is to cut through here. Like, what would be bad is if we grabbed this the edge tool and put one here, okay? Because when we smooth this, that's going to actually put a blocking point in our curve, okay? That's right here. And it's going to say, no, hold that point. Don't smooth there. I need you to hold that spot. So we don't want it to do that. So it's very important that we don't add lines into our ring ever, anywhere. So like there would be bad, anywhere is bad. So we don't want to do that. Instead, where we want to add our cross sections is here, but we're going to need some more control over here. So in order to do that, what we want to do is get rid of this back plane that connects everything. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. And we're going to then be able to work over here isolated from these, which is a really good thing. So to do that, we have to kind of do a new operation. So hit face mode. Okay, so we have all of our faces selected, and we're now going to go mesh, extract. And now that polygon set, if we go to object mode, is separated. Okay, so now we can just work on this without affecting this. Okay, so let's just go ahead and turn this off for now. We're going to put this piece that we're now building into our sword hilt. So go to your channel layer editor, and we're just going to now say put it into it. So add selected objects while the little thing is selected, and say add selected object. Okay, so now that that's done, when we turn off this, since we haven't added the rest of it to the sword hilt layer yet, when we turn this off, it's just turning off that part. Okay, so now we can just see what we're working on. Okay, and let's go right click and let's go object mode. Let's select our piece that we want to work on, and the next thing we're going to want to do is start cleaning up our model a little bit. Okay, so in the back, we're going to now see that we have some faces that we don't really want. Okay, so right click, go face mode. Okay, and let's just select out all these faces that have been created that we don't really need to have. We're just going to select them and get rid of them, and now we should be clear of that problem. Okay, so now if we turn off our picture plane, we'll see that we have a well-formed model, and everything is looking good. Okay, so let's turn back on our picture plane. So let's go to spacebar, and let's get in here, And let's just kind of continue our cleanup of the poly structure. Okay, so we're just going to really get a good outline now of this. And now that we don't have that middle stuff to deal with, it's a lot easier, right? So we can just kind of make decisions a little more carefree now and not have to worry about how it's going to interact with over here. So these guys, we can just keep nudging, and we can grab our tool over here and just keep adding away so that we have some nice control. Just something like that. And now we're just going to go into, you have to be over the wireframe, go vertex mode, and grab your select tool. And let's just really start nailing this down. Grab the move tool, and just kind of really nudge these guys till it's a nice smooth shape. Shape. Okay, so let's go back out to our outside view, and we're going to kind of clean up this whole ring right here a little bit more. And what I'd like to do is actually have another control loop around this. Okay, so I'm just going to right click, I'm going to go face, I'm going to select this ring, and I'm going to delete it. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to go right click, edge, and we're just going to select that whole edge by double clicking the perimeter. Okay, so now we're just going to go extrude, and that's going to be it. We're just going to hit scale, and we're going to grab this yellow one, and we're just going to kind of suck it in a little bit. Okay, so what that does is it's not actually changing the height any, it's just basically making an inset. Okay, and we can then scale it out a little bit just to kind of make it comfortable. Okay, and now we have a nice ring that's going to always follow us when we create new loops. Okay, so if I grab this guy now, it's going to actually make a loop around the perimeter. Okay, so we can actually add more detail without having to cut in anywhere else that we don't want to. Okay, so I just undid that just for now, and I'm going to go back to object mode, and I'm just going to take a look at what we got. Alright, that's starting to look really good. Okay, so let's go back to our front view and continue finessing polygons. Cylinder. So yeah, so we're kind of getting there, and let's take a look at our model again. Alright, so we really have the makings of a nice shape here. That looks a little funky. Let's fix that one. Let's get in there and let's see what's doing it. So yeah, it's just not quite smooth. Let's just make it smooth, and that's going to look a lot better. This one's also a little too square. That's good. Now it's got a nice shape. Let's take a look again. And yeah, it looks a lot better. Okay, great. So now what we want to do is we want to make this internal face again. So we're going to go right click, and we're going to go edge, and we're going to double click that loop, and we're going to go extrude, move, inward. Okay? And we can suck it kind of far back. Yeah, that's good. In fact, let's just pull it all the way to the 0 mark. So let's go on the z-axis, 0, oops, 0, and we're good. Okay? Great. Alright, so the next thing we're going to want to do is start pulling up this top area, this little like upper hilt part. So let's go ahead and begin there. And we're just going to right click and go face mode, and select, and those 4 should do. And we're just going to go extrude. We do a lot of that, as you can tell. And we're just going to pull it up a little bit. And then we're going to grab these 2 and go extrude. And pull it up a little bit. And that's basically going to do it for this part. This is pretty simple. I'm just going to go to my front view just to kind of get a good view of it, make sure everything's lining up nice. And alright, so that's good. And a little more, all of them at once. I'm going to end up mirroring it, but for now I want it to be nice and clean. So that's good, and that's already kind of good. Alright, let's jump to our side view. Okay, so this time I'm not going to the front view, I'm going to go to my side view. And I'm just going to kind of zoom in, and I know I want all these guys to kind of taper in, and I'm actually going to pull it down a little bit, and I'm going to grab these guys and pull them down a little bit, and yeah, we're getting a little funkiness, but that's okay. And that should do it. So let's come to our front view and check our perspective view, and that's starting to look really good. Alright, so that's starting to work. That's starting to work. Alright. So that's blocked out nicely. So I guess now what the best thing to do would be, that's not quite good though. I want to fix that. I like these to be a little tighter. So I'm just going to pull this up a touch, and I'm just going to pull these together with the scale tool, and that should do it. Okay. Yeah, that's looking great. It's looking real good. So let's get ready to do our next movement. So I'm in the front view again, and I'm just going to go right click on the object, go face, and select all of these faces and hit the delete button. Okay, so now we only have half of our model. So now we're ready to do our mirror operation. So I'm going to go back to my perspective mode and zoom out a little bit just so I can see. And I'm in great shape. As you can see, we've got some more polygons in the back that we're going to have to clean up. So just go turn the model around. Select, delete them, just to keep it nice and clean. And we're in good shape. So, yeah, so I just want to turn off my picture plane, take a quick look. Alright, everything's looking nice and clean and smooth, everything's good. I am pretty happy right now. And, yeah, I think it's ready to be mirrored. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to go ahead and select that whole thing, and go edit, duplicate special, and select the options. On here we're going to go -1, and we're going to make sure it's set to instance, and we're going to make sure all these other ones are set to 1, and hit apply. And we're good. We can close that down now, and we're pretty much set. Now we want to mirror it over the other way, so let's go edit, duplicate special, and this time we're going to go 1, -1, and 1, apply, and we have the back face done. So hit close, and we've now got a full hilt ready for our sword.